The perpetual hum of the port of entry cargo inspection bay clings to you, a low thrum against your bones, a constant reminder of how far you've fallen. Salt-laced air, thick with the tang of diesel and the metallic scent of rust, rasps in your throat with every breath. Around you, a labyrinth of stacked shipping containers, painted in faded primary colors, stretches towards the grimy ceiling, each one a sealed sarcophagus holding unknown contents. Your gloved hands, once deft with a service weapon, now trace the cold, corrugated steel of a container wall, searching for a seam, a loose rivet, a telltale sign of tampering. Your uniform, a drab, utilitarian affair, chafes. It's a shroud for the man you once were, Marcus Thorne, the name echoing in the cavernous space, a phantom limb you still sometimes reach for. The methodical rhythm of the inspection, the tap, the scan, the log is a dull bomb, a distraction from the sharp edges of memory. You push a rolling scanner along a container's side, the device's green light sweeping across industrial serial numbers, a monotonous dance you perform daily. This is your penance, your self-imposed exile, trading the hunt for justice for the hunt for contraband. Yet, even here, in this purgatorial waiting room of the world, shadows stretch and coil. A particular file, thin and brittle with age, sometimes surfaces in the quiet moments, during the lull between inspections, when the distant clang of a crane is the only sound. A journalist. You knew better. You always knew better. It was the case that broke you, the loose thread that unraveled your career, leaving you here, inspecting cargo. You turn, your movements slow, almost reluctant. Standing a few paces away is a figure, a silhouette against the harsh, industrial lights. A tailored suit, sharp and out of place amidst the grime and grit. The old contact. You recognize the set of the jaw, the weary eyes that have seen too much. He carries himself with an authority that still commands, even if it's no longer directed at you. Marcus, the old contact's voice is a low murmur, barely cutting through the ambient drone, yet it resonates with an undeniable weight. They said you'd be here. Hiding. You offer no greeting, no apology for your current station. I'm working. Your voice is a rasp, and used to anything beyond brief directives. He steps closer, the faint scent of expensive cologne a jarring contrast to the metallic air. Work that suits you? A new lead on an old ghost. Your grip tightens on the scanner. The journalist. The thought is a jolt, an electric current through dormant nerves. Not as a random act this time. It's tied to the campaign. The presidential hopeful and something. You knew it. All those years ago, you felt the invisible hands, the pressure to close the case, to look away. Now, it's back. The very same politician, a rising star then, now a titan. The irony bites, sharp and bitter. Why me, you finally ask, the words tasting like ash. I'm out. Disgraced. The old contact's lips thin, a ghost of a smile. Precisely. You have nothing left to lose. And you're the only one who didn't believe the official story. The only one who saw the strings. He reaches into his inner jacket pocket, producing a small, worn leather-bound journal. It's old, faded, but impeccably preserved. He holds it out to you. This was found in a secure vault. It belonged to the journalist. It contains everything. Your eyes fix on the journal, a tangible link to the past, a silent scream across the years. The journalist's meticulous handwriting, the detailed notes, the relentless pursuit of truth that ultimately cost them everything. This isn't just a new lead, it's a direct challenge. Untraceable. If you find anything at all that links the old case to the new power, they'll want to know. You stare at the journal, its worn cover promising both answers and untold dangers. You feel the stirrings of an old fire, long banked, now beginning to flicker, threatening to consume you whole. The journalist's truth, waiting within those brittle pages, calls to you, Marcus, pulling you back into the dangerous dance you thought you'd left behind. The air, thick with the scent of salt and forgotten freight, presses in. The decision, a raw knot in your gut, demands resolution. Redemption or ruin. The words echo, a spectral chorus in the cavernous space. Well, Marcus? The voice of the contact, a low rasp, cuts through the stillness. A ghost from the past, or a fresh start? Your gaze drifts from the worn leather of the journal to the contact's unreadable face. They offer no comfort, no guidance, only the stark choice. The journalist's death, that cold, unsolved shadow from your early days, rises like a phantom limb. You remember the flicker of your own ambition, the sharp sting of its snuffing out. This isn't about absolution, it's about the gnawing hunger for an answer, a truth buried beneath years of official silence and your own self-imposed exile. A deep breath pulls the damp air into your lungs, a burning acceptance. Give me the files, you state, the words a gravelly promise. A faint, almost imperceptible nod from the contact. A heavy, industrial-grade plastic case, scarred in gray, slides across the metal table towards you. It thuds with the weight of forgotten evidence, of lives shattered and justice denied. You reach for it, your fingers brushing against the cold, impersonal surface. This is your anchor, your new burden, your last chance. The journalist's original notes are in there, the contact adds, their voice devoid of emotion. Along with the official reports. See what you missed, Marcus. See what they wanted you to miss. The insinuation hangs, a venomous whisper in the vast space. You clench your jaw, the old frustration coiling in your chest. You hoist the case, its heft a physical manifestation of the task ahead. The journey back to your solitary refuge, a cramped apartment above a perpetually rumbling street, is a blur of city lights and internal monologue. The case sits on the passenger seat, an unblinking eye. Once inside, the familiar gloom of your living space offers no solace. The journal comes first. Its pages, fragile with age, hold the journalist's meticulous script. You trace the lines, the urgency of their quest palpable even years later. Then, the case. You snap open the latches, the metallic click a stark announcement. Inside, neatly tabbed folders, yellowed photographs, and brittle reports await your scrutiny. The air fills with the stale scent of aged paper and the ghost of formaldehyde. You begin to sift, methodically. Police reports, witness statements, forensic findings, all the official narratives that had led to the initial dead end. You immerse yourself in the past, the sterile language of bureaucracy attempting to contain the chaos of a violent death. The victim's face, captured in a grainy photograph, stares up at you, eyes wide with a question you fail to answer. Hours bleed into each other. The city outside quiets, then slowly stirs with the first tentative sounds of dawn. Your eyes burn, tracing lines of text, comparing timestamps, searching for the discordant note. Most of it is familiar, the same data you'd poured over all those years ago. But then, a subtle tremor. In a collection of the journalist's personal research notes, tucked into an unmarked folder, you find repeated mentions of a specific entity, the Veritas Foundation. It's a name that vaguely registers, a philanthropic organization. Its frequent appearance in the journalist's more speculative entries, often underlined and circled, suggests a deeper significance. The journalist had been tracking its activities, its donors, its sudden surge in influence. A detail you'd dismissed as peripheral back then, lost amidst the more sensational leads. You rub your temples, the vague memory morphing into a sharp prickle of recognition. The Veritas Foundation. The name is no longer obscure. With a jolt, you switch it on. The morning news anchor, a placid smile plastered on her face, reports on the latest campaign rally. And there it is. A banner, unfurled behind the prominent politician, emblazoned with the familiar, elegant logo of the Veritas Foundation. The anchor speaks of its generous contributions and civic-minded initiatives, praising its integral role in the politician's burgeoning presidential campaign. The pieces, disparate and scattered for so long, begin to shift, to align. The journalist, pursuing a seemingly random thread, had stumbled upon something significant. Something connected to power, to influence, to a politician now on the cusp of national leadership. The journal lies open beside the files, its pages filled with the journalist's insistent questions. You stare at the television, then back at the name Veritas Foundation circled in faded ink. The past is not merely resurfacing, it is actively bleeding into the present, demanding to be seen. And you, Marcus Thorne, are now digging directly into its heart. The journal, a slim, leather-bound sentinel, feels heavier now, its pages whispering untold stories against your palm. You stride through the city's waking arteries, the concrete pulse underfoot a dull counterpoint to the thrumming resolve in your veins. The air, crisp with the lingering chill of dawn, carries the scent of exhaust and distant brewing coffee. Your destination, a ghost from your past, beckons with a grim promise. Years have etched new scars onto its face, rust blossoming on the colossal cranes that loom like skeletal sentinels against the bruised sky. This was where the life of a brilliant mind had been extinguished, under the indifferent gaze of stacked containers. You walk the perimeter, your gaze sweeping over the scene. The bay is quieter now, a skeletal crew moving with the practiced lethargy of early morning. You remember the original chalk outline, long since scrubbed away by rain and time. You crouch beside a forgotten stack of empty wooden pallets, the rough grain digging into your palm. Here, precisely here, near where the body was found. A flicker of movement catches your eye. Not a person, but something within the grimy concrete seam where a steel support beam meets the floor. A tiny, almost invisible scratch, barely deeper than a hair, yet deliberate. You trace it with a fingertip, a minute incision forming a symbol, an inverted delta, followed by a series of three seemingly random numbers, 771. It means nothing in isolation. You pull out the journal. Flipping through its well-worn pages, your finger brushes against a marginal note, a faint, almost erased doodle next to an entry detailing a series of unusual cargo manifests from years ago. It's the same inverted delta. Below it, scribbled hastily, are the words, Trisector Holdings. This wasn't a random act. The journalist had left a breadcrumb, a desperate last message. Trisector Holdings. The name is vaguely familiar, a corporate ghost in the periphery of your memory, tied to various large-scale infrastructure projects. You seek out a figure hunched over a steaming mug near a loading dock, a grizzled veteran dock worker whose face is a roadmap of the bay's history. His eyes, roomy and distant, barely acknowledge your approach. "Morning," you offer, your voice low. "I'm looking into that old case the journalist found here. Any memories resurface?" The worker slowly lifts his gaze, a glint of suspicion hardening the tired lines around his eyes. He takes a long swallow from his mug. "Some things are best left buried, Marcus Thorne," he rasps, his voice like gravel. The use of your full name, the deliberate pause, is a veiled warning. This place. It sees a lot. But it forgets faster. He turns back to his mug, dismissing you with the slump of his shoulders. Undeterred, you next approach the former security chief, now a supervisor, overseeing the intricate dance of cranes and containers. He stands straighter, his uniform pressed, but his eyes betray a nervous energy. "Thorne," he greets, a forced smile barely touching his lips. "Heard you were back sniffing around. That's a closed book, isn't it?" "Some books have pages glued shut," you counter, holding his gaze. The journalist was onto something. Something about Trisector Holdings? The supervisor's jaw tightens imperceptibly. He glances around, his eyes darting to a distant office window. "Look, Thorne, I don't know what you're digging for, but you're digging in the wrong place. That case was open and shut. Random mugging gone wrong. End of story." His voice drops, a low, urgent murmur. "There are currents in this water you don't want to swim against. Powerful currents. They don't like old debts being called in." The words hang in the industrial air, heavy with unspoken threats. The inverted delta, the journal's cryptic note, the code 771, and now the overt resistance from those who were once just witnesses. It crystallizes into a stark, undeniable truth. The journalist was not just reporting on something significant, they were on the cusp of exposing a conspiracy, one so deeply entrenched that its tendrils still reached out years later to choke any attempt at resurrection. Your determination hardens, forged in the crucible of this renewed resistance. You will unearth what they tried to hide.